Okay, so what's up everybody? It's been a few days since I did any work on this motor for the Walker Turner drill press. I just cleaned this out a little bit. It was all gunked up with sawdust. Let's see if I can get it in the light so you can see. It looks pretty clean now. I used some gentle air. Just blew all the sawdust away. It looks pretty good. Some of this banding is broken. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that, or if I should do anything about that. I gotta look that up. There's still lots of shellac on here, or varnish, or whatever it is. I forget. I'm still a little concerned about the wires right here. Let's see. You can see if I bring you in right here. Focus. We got some. There you go. You got some bare wire down there. Same right here. So I'm looking at my options to repair that. Obviously, I don't want to be splicing any wiring in this motor, so I'm looking to cover that up one way, and I'm gonna see what the best option is for that. I just went through these leads again with the meter and tested everything out. Again, I'm not a motor guru, so I'm just kind of working off what I can find on YouTube and read about, but I don't think I'll be able to do this one-handed, but I don't have anything to ground, which is good. I'm grounding to this outer case of the magnet here, I guess, and inside here I don't have anything to ground, and I'm getting if I do resistance, let me see if I can do this. But I'm going to look up the resistance values I got. Everything seems pretty much within the same range if I do the resistance of each of the coils. So that's good. Seems to be good. And if I go to ground, like I said, I don't have anything open to ground. So hopefully that is good enough. Like I said, the motor was running when it came out, so really I'm just trying to clean it up. Did that, I blew off this. This I'm still going to have to clean up a little bit. Still got sawdust and stuff on there. I'll just use some, electrical contact cleaner or something. I don't want anything else getting down in there. Maybe I'll use some Scotch-Brite on the outside of the this rotating assembly here, just to clean that up. Put that out of the way for a minute. I cleaned up the inside of these castings. I'm going to clean those up real good also. There's still some stuff stuck on there. Not sure if I'm going to paint these yet or not. Yeah, I guess I need to. There's some rust coming through there. So Keith Rucker, I like his channel, vintagemachinery.org. I watch that a lot, and I know he uses citrus strip, so I'm probably going to try and pick some of that up. It seems to be gentle on your hands, but tough on the paint, makes easy going of it. I don't have access to a bead blaster or sand blaster or anything like that, so I'm just going to get what paint I can off. And then I saw a couple options for repainting these castings for the Walker Turner, for the Kingston Conley motors. One was some sort of like a crackle paint out of a spray can. I gotta look that up again. Somebody had done that on one of these motors, and I guess it turned out pretty good. So see if that's going to be an option for me. I'm going to work on trying to get these tags off. These are drive screws that go all the way through. They're not. I don't think they're rivets. I think they're drive screws that were just driven through the sheet metal shroud. Right there, right there, right there, and right there. I'm going to attempt to put these over some sort of a center hole, and then see if I can drive these out with a punch, rather than trying to pry up on this tag. I certainly don't want to do that. So I'm going to give that a shot in a minute, and then to the bearings. So this Walker Turner, I keep saying Walker Turner. It's a Walker Turner drill. This Kingston Conley drill. I'm screwing things up. This Kingston Conley motor on this Walker Turner drill has some funky bearings. So the two bearings that I found, or the two bearings that came off, I found numbers on them. One is an MRC 202 SF, and doing a bunch of different bearing lookups, that seems to be a pretty common bearing that you can get a replacement for. However, this one, I have it soaking in some solvent. It's not quite as easy to come across. So if we look on here, see if I can get it to show up. Yeah, you know why? Because it's on here. So if we look on here, the bearing is an SKF number. Should we get it if I can read it now? There we go. 465181. So if you do a Google search of SKF 465181, you'll get a couple threads about Kingston Conley motors and trying to find these bearings. And they're kind of difficult to find, if not impossible. I'll get to that in a minute. But I guess what makes these special is my finger. I keep getting my finger in the way there. I guess that's the problem with using an iPhone instead of a regular camera. So the thing with these bearings are, I was measuring these wrong to begin with. So apparently the bearings are a hybrid of millimeter and SAE dimensions, which makes them difficult to find. So if you look at the bearing, it's a little over 35. It's supposed to be a 35 millimeter bearing, and it's because I'm going diagonal there. It actually comes right out to 0.3 of a millimeter over 35. So it's a 35 millimeter bearing in that direction. In this direction, it is 12.25 millimeter. Okay. And here's the kicker. In that direction, 15.75 millimeters. But if you switch that back over to inch, should be just about 5/8 of an inch. So it's a 35 millimeter outside diameter and a 5/8 of an inch bore, and that's what makes it tricky to find. I did find one. I ordered them. I'll have to, I'm going to look that bearing number up, and I don't know, this is my first video, so somehow attach it or put a link. I found it on eBay. I found a bearing number for an equivalent bearing for the original 465181, and then when I did a search on that equivalent bearing number, I found some on eBay. They're not cheap, but I don't have a lathe. The other options of using a modern bearing on this shaft, there's all sorts of ideas or all sorts of fixes of shimming the shaft, turning the shaft down and then putting spacers on and then turning those down. There's a whole bunch of options, all of which are off the table for me. So for about twice as much as it would cost for a normal bearing, I was able to buy this other bearing. I haven't gotten them yet. Hopefully when they get here they're gonna match up perfectly, or it's going to match up perfectly. And then, like I said, I'm gonna get just a regular bearing for that 202 SF, which should not be a problem to get either. Haven't ordered it yet, but that shouldn't be a problem. So then I will have 2 fresh bearings. I was going to try to clean this one up. In fact, I did try to clean this one up, as you saw, but it's got some bearing noise, and it's got a little crunch in there. I don't know if you can. So right in there, there's some crunch. So I'd rather put a new bearing on if I can. If I can't, if the new bearing comes and it's the wrong one, I'll send it back and just pack the heck out of this one with grease, and hopefully it'll survive. This is not going to be a high volume drill press by any stretch of the imagination. So so I do have the dust shield that I can pop back in there if I need to, with the snap rings and the felt over here. So if I do have to reuse that bearing, I can certainly give it a shot. So that's about it. So I'm going to try and, like I said, I'm going to try and punch out these drive screws to get this plate off. Again, kudos to Keith Rucker on his site and vintagemachinery.org. It's enjoyable. He's a great narrator. It's fun to watch his videos. I find myself with a lot of free time in front of a computer sometimes, and sit there and watch his videos. So he did some nice restorations, or a nice little video on how to clean these plates up, these label plates real well. I like that video. I'm sure other people have it too. His just happens to be the one that caught my eye and I watched. And again, we got one over here. I'm going to do this one. This one, hopefully, I can just clean, and I won't have to repaint, because that's a whole lot of lettering to try to scrape off. And I don't think it's raised lettering, as opposed to over here. I think this is raised, so it'll be easier to sand off the paint. I'm probably going to mask that and then paint it black, and then gently sand off the black. Something along those lines. We'll get it done. So for now, I'm going to try and get these drive screws out. Luckily, they're both in the sheet metal. So, like I said, hopefully I can just pop those out, and it won't be too much of a hassle. So we'll see how that goes.